In this video, we're going to take a look at a brand new knife from another YouTube creator in the outdoor genre. And we're going to talk about YouTube knife creators and knife designers and that sort of thing. And I'll give you my thoughts on that. Anyway, what we're talking about is the APO-1 from Survival Lilly. So that's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. So, Survival Lilly. I got to tell you, when I first started my channel 5 years ago, I kind of was introduced and found Survival Lilly's channel, and I think at that time it was. It was a different name. I can't even remember the name, but I listed her as one. A long time ago, I had a list, kind of a video series of my favorite channels, and she was one of them. I thought she did a really good job, and I was really impressed by the time she took editing videos and the shots she made and all that. They just seemed visually interesting and a little more well thought out than just, you know, than mine, honestly, standing in front of a stump somewhere, you know, talking about a knife. Hers seemed to have a little more artistic quality to them, we'll call it that. The same thing, even on maybe a higher scale with Andy Tran's videos, because his camera work and his art is just, man, it was something else. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I want to try to do something like that. I quickly realized, by the way, that was way more work than I had time to fool with and actually get any content out, because it takes a lot of time to do all that stuff. So my hat's off to her for the growth she's had on her channel. She's done a really good job, I think. I don't know how many subscribers she's got now. She's way up there. So anyway, she has designed a knife, and it's called the APO-1. It stands for Apocalypse 1. And she says this is the knife. She wanted to design a knife that would be her one knife to have with her in case everything hit the fan and went crazy in apocalypse. And she's this is her take on that. Now, it may or may not be your take on it, but I think I was intrigued by it when I saw her initial video on this, and I reached out to her and asked her if she'd be interested in me taking a look at it. And she has said she had a couple of revisions to make on it. She wanted to make sure she got the final product out, and she would send me one, and she did. So this is the original finished version of the APO-1, and it's also available with a black oxide finish. The changes, at least the one change I know she made, was she changed from micarta to G10 handle scales, and she changed these screws here, so I guess that's two changes, to stainless, because it's a stainless finished blade. So let me take you down to the old tabletop here. I got a wool blanket out here. We'll kind of take a closer look at it. We'll talk about the specs and all that. And then we'll go back to the old extremely deteriorating stump top, the little knife stuff. And while we're doing that, we'll talk about YouTube knife designers and what I think about this knife as we go. So here is the APO-1 knife, and you can see this knife is a full tang knife. Features a solid full tang of AUS 8 steel, and this is a Taiwan-made knife, not made in the People's Republic of China. It's made in Taiwan. It features a 5.51 inch blade, or 14 centimeters, of 4.7 millimeters thickness, and it has a handle length of 4.72 inches or 12.5 centimeters, and it weighs 14.67 ounces with the sheath, which we're going to look at in just a minute, which is 416 grams. Knife has a Rockwell hardness of 57 plus or minus 1 or so, and then it has a very sharp spine here, a little bit of jimping here, and it's not too bad. It's fine enough to where it's not too. It's pretty aggressive, but it's also, I guess the jimping is fine enough. It's close together enough where it doesn't really hurt like some of it does. And then the 3 handle screws again are stainless steel, and the sheath is kind of a thermoplastic style sheath that this thing snaps in. And once we'll talk about the sheath in just a minute. Let me snaps in really good. It's got a double snap retention here, so I really like that. As a matter of fact, when I ordered my Tahoma field knife from Tops from Andy Tran, I got the optional snap sheath instead of just Velcro, just because I think that's really good. The retention has, so you don't lose it. Even though the sheath itself has got really good retention on it. It's good to have that and it's good to have that extra retention there. And then the back has got Molly compatible, so split, so you can have Molly compatible on it, but it's also a Velcro and snap belt loop, so just extra security there. And then it also has a this thing screws on to the thermoplastic, so you can take it off if you want to, and just mount this directly on a any kind of a pack or webbing or whatever, or you can leave it on. And it's got a drain hole at the very bottom, so it's a pretty well thought out design. On the knife itself, it's got kind of a flattened pommel on the end right here, but it's really not. Those aren't really sharp 90-degree spines. So if you do put your hand on it, then it's not going to really like cut your thumb. You can use it for that. You can also use it for like pounding, you know, shells or nuts or whatever you need to pound on. And then gotta say, it feels really good in my hand. It's a saber grind, if you can see that. And just to look at the tip, pretty strong tip, the way she designed that saber. I think it's pretty strong, so it looks like it anyway. So my initial thoughts, again, this, you can see it's brand new. I'm not using it. I literally just got it yesterday. I wanted to make this video. The sheath is really tight. The one thing that it seems like the blade itself is almost as wide as the hole in the sheath. So when you put it in, if you can see that, it's almost like it wants to ride right here. I don't know if that's gonna impact the blade long term or not, but I can tell you it feels really, really good in my hand. It's a good sized knife. Right off the bat, just straight out of the box, I like this knife. Okay, I mean, you probably already knew that just from looking at it. I mean, it looks good, it feels good in my hand, and it feels really balanced too. We'll find out for sure. But before we do that, let me take you down to the old stump top and let's do a little knife stuff. Okay, so I got some pine here, I think this is oak, and some good old Fatwood. And we'll just set this sheath out of the way. Just gonna do a little chopping here on the pine, and we'll maybe do a little splitting. Go above and beyond. I think this is just man, it feels good. So let me just chop a piece of this pine off here. And it's got a kind of a flare here on the end of it. Kind of help you. It really does seem to grip pretty good. I use like a two-handed chopping grip when I'm using this kind of a smaller knife like this. Two-finger chopping grip rather. And this so the saber grind does a pretty good job on that. Let's just split this thing out here, just for the heck of it. It's been raining here for a couple days now. As you can see, this is really wet on the inside, so probably not going to be the best. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. It's pretty soft. So let's try splitting this big old chunk of oak here. Now, I know you wouldn't find something like this in the woods, but this is what I've got, so we're going to do it. First, I'll just stab this right here like that. Split it off. Split it off pretty good. It might be kind of right on the edge there. There we go. So I'm proud with it a little bit. See how strong it is, because it's pretty good there. Now that's dry there, and that's good. The stump top, obviously, this part's doing pretty good. We're not going to break it if we do that. Oh yeah. So. Well, I don't want to tear my stump up, but as you can see, no worries there. She wanted to have a strong tip. I think she's done a pretty good job of that. Let's let me back you up just a hair, raise you up, and we'll baton this piece here. Again, this is probably the size. I'm going to baton it long way, so it'll be the longest it'll be. I guess the widest it'll be. And I know there's people that are going to say, you don't need a baton. I've been in the woods for 50 years and never had to baton anything. Well, maybe not, but it sure is a handy skill to have. So anyway, there's that. I don't know what kind of wood this is. I think it's probably oak. Not the best feather wood in the world, but we're just going to see how well this edge does on the feather. I can tell you this edge is really sharp, and it really is a good edge. I mean, this is the workmanship on this knife. I'm pretty impressed with. Yeah, look at that. That's doing a great job. I haven't really been able to feather oak very well, but this saber grind is probably one of my favorite grinds. It's just very, very usable, functional for a wide variety of applications and tasks. So there's that. I don't know. Just carve some of this wetness off of here. I don't know if this thing is gonna, if it's too wet for that to actually strike a ferro rod, but I tell you, it feels really good in my hand. But let me go ahead and try to see if I can scrape a little bit of this off here. I mean, it's great for, and this is not even Fatwood, okay? This is just oak, or I think it's oak. There's a lot of reasons you might want to have a knife that scrapes really well. So let's just see how this works with no Fatwood and a ferro rod. And it's very damp. But there we go. Pretty impressive so far, I can tell you that. But I did promise some Fatwood, and I can't resist anyway, so I'll put you to the side there for a minute. Let's just carve off a little Fatwood. Let's just scrape it off there. I like scraping me some Fatwood. We'll just carve off a little more here, just for the heck of it. Just fuzz you down there like that. Just give you a little quick glimpse of, you saw how many strikes it took to do the regular wood. Let's just see what the old Fatwood does. Oh yeah. So anyway, that's one reason I like me some Fatwood. Okay, so that was some of the use test of the knife. You know, we did some carving, some light carving, some feather sticking, some light chopping, some batoning, some tip testing, some firework. And I got to say, I like this knife so far. It functions really well, even though my hands are pretty cold right now because I'm a Georgia boy and it's in the 30s. But it just feels good. It feels extremely well balanced and capable. I mean, I just think Lilly did a good job designing this. And you know, we maintain a state-of-the-art cutting-edge knife testing facility here at the Survival on Purpose Worldwide headquarters. So we are going to check the balance test on our balance, orientation, and rotation device back there in just a minute. But I want to talk real quick before we do that about YouTubers designing knives. Every time I see a video about a YouTuber that's designing a knife, or every time I review one, I get comments about, you know what, why does somebody that has a YouTube channel think they're qualified to design knives? Blah, blah, blah. Well, why not? What kind of qualifications do you need to design knives? And why wouldn't somebody who has either spent a lot of time making videos using their knife, in whatever the case, whether they're making videos or whether they're camping or whatever, they're using a knife. Anybody who spent a lot of time using a knife and or reviewing multiple knives, why would they not be qualified to design their own knife? I think they probably are as qualified as anybody else in the world, in my opinion. Whether or not they have a YouTube channel, people look at that like it's some kind of negative. Because you have a YouTube channel, it means that you don't have any qualifications. You're just a dude with a camera, and that's probably me. I'm just a dude with a camera, but I'm also a dude with a camera who spent decades playing around in the woods as a scoutmaster and as a kid and everything else. And so, and I'm not saying I've got any qualifications. I'm just saying that I've spent probably as much time with a knife as a lot of people that I know. And I'm not a knife designer. I'm using myself as an example, so maybe that's a bad example. But you know, Chris Tanner's done a great job of designing knives. I think David at Ultimate Survival Tips has done a great job of designing his MSK1 knife, in spite of what many people have said. So far, it's doing really well for me. And as far as I can tell, I think Lilly has done a great job of designing this knife. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be detractors, and this is not for everybody. There's not a single knife that I know of that's for everybody, but this is a pretty good knife in my opinion so far. Taiwan, the Taiwan APO 8 is, I've always had really good experience with that with other knife makers. I think the fit and finish and the quality of workmanship on this knife, just give me a little close up of that. I mean, that is completely smooth there, and it's just a really good job. I think whoever she picked to make this knife is doing a really good job of it. The price on this knife, best I could tell after doing the conversion, shipped to the US is about 150 bucks. So it's not a super low budget knife, but it's not crazy expensive. It seems like a really good knife to me. And as I said, so far I like it a lot. So without me rambling on about that, I guess I've made that point, hopefully, just because so I think Lilly has done a good job with this. She's got, in my opinion, a pretty good bit of experience using knives, and I think she's come up with her take on what is a good knife to use, and I think she's done a good job of it. As far as the price, you got to take into account this is a small batch production, and she's hopefully going to make a little money on it. That's the purpose for doing stuff like this. So good for her, and good for the folks that made this knife, because I think they did a pretty good job of it, to be honest with you. So anyway, but all that being said, it really depends on one key factor as to how well balanced this thing is. So let's just see if we can find out. Calibration is key. Finally. Okay, we're going to call this one balanced. Anyway, we'll probably do a couple of follow-ups on this. I'm going to be using this one a little bit through. Also, I'll probably put this one in the mix with my long-term testing, because I really like it. And I'm pretty sure that Lily's going to probably have a little bit of some of those haters out there saying that, you know, she has no business making a knife, or it's too expensive, or the steel's no good, or whatever the case may be. But I got to say, I like the knife. I think it's pretty good. And we'll just go from there. So thanks again to Lilly at Survival Lilly for sending me this so I could check it out and do some more testing on it and show it to you. And as always, thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. I put out a brand new video every Friday and Saturday, and very often random videos throughout the week. There's another one right there. And if you're not subscribed, please click right down there in the corner. I really appreciate your support. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident. So be prepared. I'll see you next time. Ooh, almost missed.